live.
Live. Happy Thanksgiving.
Hello, everyone.
What's up?
We have a big episode tonight, as always. Thank you for joining in. First, we would like you to like the post and share it so we can really grow this thing. And Steve's going to share it. We're all going to share it around the table, so we'd like you to do that. Dustin's back on tonight. I know he's been off camera for a while, but he brought something special. It's going to be a Knob Creek single barrel pick from our good friends up in the Cleveland Bourbon Club. Mm-hmm. So thank you. And then also the bourbon barrel aged beer, right?
Yep. It's the Hoppin' Frog Gazebo Barrel Aged Boris, which Boris just stands for Bodacious Oatmeal Russian Imperial Stout.
That's really what it stands for.
Yes, that's exactly what it stands for. But
nice.
It was aged, the beer was aged in the exact same barrel that they picked.
That's the coolest part. We can get into that and the age and stuff. And we're also smoking the Rey del Mundo. I'm excited for Dustin to smoke it. Steve and I have smoked it already. And we won't say if we like it or not, just so we can get your honest opinion on that. And then, as our holiday approaches, we were talking about giving thanks. So that's what we will get into tonight as our topic. And we hope that you stay around for our Friendsgiving.
Just sharing it.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can.
I'm doing the same thing. So.
Cool. What's everyone smoking and drinking tonight? Who is following Facebook Live before we start recording? Chime in there. And what are your Thanksgiving plans if you're traveling or anything else?
It's not showing up on
All right. Share away. What's up, Aaron? How are you doing?
I'm having the same problem Steve had.
Woo!
Nate Hales, In the Garage, 601 Maduro and Cleveland Christmas 2013 edition.
I heard it tastes like licorice.
Ray Cheshire chiming in from Vietnam. Happy marriage to you. Happy wedding day.
Man. Congrats.
You got married today?
Not today. It was just we haven't seen him since. I talked to him.
Oh. Got it.
Aaron's at Fido, braving the cold right now.
Wait, Ray's back in Vietnam? I thought he was in Tokyo again.
He was living in Hong Kong, but then he moved now. He moved out of Hong Kong. Now he's living in Vietnam with Jane, and they got married.
I can't keep track of you, man.
All over the guys. All over the place. Great Lakes Christmas sale. Mm-hmm. Very delicious, David.
I'm drinking and drinking. Yeah. Cheers. Ready?
Mm-hmm. All right, let's do this.
Would you mind pouring that?
Yeah.
You want to go while he pours?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, everyone, here we go.
Perfect.
Are they? I don't know. Maybe
get the cork popping.
Oh, God damn it! I wasn't.
It's all right.
Just. You wanna talk while you get it poured? All right. See what the multitasking skills are here.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bourbon and BS podcast. I'm Jake Sanders.
I'm Steve Crane.
Well, you gotta introduce yourself.
You
man.
normally do. I didn't know. I was smoking. So.
I keep mixing it up. I gotta keep you on your toes, man.
Okay.
Thank you for joining, everyone. Happy Whiskey Wednesday. We are recording this the day before Thanksgiving, and it's going to be interesting because the audio is, as you know, put on Fridays, so you'll be listening to it after Thanksgiving for the audio listeners.
So we hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
Yes. We got a lot to talk about tonight. So what we're pouring tonight is that we're doing a Knob Creek single barrel pick from our good friends up at Cleveland Bourbon Club. It's called Gazebo. And our guest Dustin brought that. Dustin is back on this evening. And he also brought a bourbon aged beer that is aged in the same Knob Creek barrel that this was barreled in.
Yes.
And what's it called?
So the beer is it's by Hoppin' Frog, which is a brewery up in Akron, Ohio. They've won tons of awards, done a lot of collaborations with a variety of different distilleries. Woodford being one of them. They've got a couple barrel aged.
Yeah.
They've got a couple of Christmas stouts that were aged in Pappy Van Winkle barrels. But this one is the Gazebo Barrel Aged Boris, which Boris just stands for Bodacious Oatmeal Russian Imperial Stout.
We'll get into that later. And we're also smoking the Rey del Mundo tonight, and that's Steve and I've smoked both of them, but we're excited, or we've smoked it, and we're excited to have Dustin smoke it and get his honest opinion about that. So we're not going to tell you what we liked or disliked about it. And then our topic, as festive as we are, is giving thanks. We could dive into a bunch of different subjects with that inside of that one subject, and I'm excited to see where it goes. As always, thank you for joining, and we want to thank our sponsors.
Our sponsors. You can see it if you're watching the Facebook Live right now. The flag behind us is Romeo Julieta, Monte Cristo, and H. Upman. That's from Altadis USA. They support us with some sponsorship dollars, and also with the second cigar of every episode, as long as we don't have another sponsor for that episode per se. And then also Tinder Box at Easton. They are the shop here in Columbus, Ohio, that provide us with the sponsorship of the first cigar, the featured cigar. So the Rey del Mundos all came from Tinder Box at Easton, where we'll have these on special at Tinder Box, 15% off until next Tuesday at close, when Jake and I will both be in the store. And then also BS Cigar Company, which I've got a BS silver and a gold, I think, in the house here. Yeah. I got another gold on the table. So thank you to our sponsors, and that's what helps get this to go on every week. Helps us out, be able to throw this. We're on episode 42. So if we didn't have any of that sponsorship and the support, that's a lot of cigars and bourbon to buy for 40 some weeks in a row, which granted we might have been buying anyways, but this helps out. So
probably would have, because we're doing the Whiskey Wednesday before.
So it helps out. That's all I'm saying. It helps out.
It does. Thank you.
So in the way that you guys can help out, all we're asking right now at this point in the show is to support us by liking the Facebook page, the Instagram page, like the post, share the page, the podcast, whatever listener you guys tune into, do that. Also, YouTube is up every week, so we're going to be on there as well. Every Friday that'll drop just with the audio. So that's really what will help this grow as well. The last 2 weeks, consistently, that's the first time it's been growing, but the last 2 episodes on Facebook Live, which a lot of you guys listen to, at least for part of it, we reached over 2,000 viewers. So that's growing along with the podcast part of it. So keep that up, share it. If you guys like it, tell someone about it at Thanksgiving. If you're watching Facebook Live, you should check out these assholes that talk in the garage every Wednesday night. See if Grandma wants to watch it. That's what I'm thinking.
Hey.
I mean, I just think Steve should speak for himself tonight.
No, I think Grandma would like to watch me on a podcast. Absolutely. I don't know what grandparents like me. Mostly grandmas. I mean, this.
I will say, our friend
nice.
Phil asked us last time about, what's the deal? What's the advantage of all the different platforms? Like, why do we say like and follow, like all these different platforms? And the point is, for the people that don't understand it, is that you have no excuse for not listening. You have every outside social media platform out there that you can listen to it, view it, watch it, whatever you want to do, and whenever at your convenience.
That's right.
So you don't have any more excuses. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And going back to my comment, do you think that you're not an asshole? Is that what you're trying to say? Speak for myself?
Only when I'm around you.
Interesting. I'm glad I bring out the best. There's a lot of character there.
Unique point.
What's up, Dustin?
Not a lot. Not a lot.
Take care of it. I need to blow my nose here.
Okay.
Very excited to get into the Knob Creek and the stout. I know you're not a big beer fan.
I know, but I'm gonna not give thanks, but I'm gonna be
adventurous.
Yes, that's a good word for that. I'm gonna be adventurous, and try and branch out a little bit more than what I normally do.
Spread your wings and fly.
Yeah, maybe.
Cool, sure. I wish I could get a shout out to Joel though.
What?
Joel.
Oh yeah.
So Joel joined in to the live. I don't know if you're still watching or not, but Joel Hashmer is actually an individual from the Cleveland Bourbon Club who is the one who so graciously gave me both of these bottles and a few other stouts that we can try another time. And his big thing was, all I ask is that you share it.
Ooh.
Perfect.
Done.
So I thought, what better way to do it than feature the whiskey while also having the stout that was aged in its barrel.
Exactly.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, we had, so jumping into our whiskey, you know, of the evening. If you haven't watched before, we do a whiskey and a cigar, and then we try to, you know, pair it, but it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. We've been really lucky lately for the pairings to be really, really good. But we do that and talk about the pairing, and we talk about each of the cigar and the whiskey individually, and then we have our topic of the evening. So tonight, again, is our Knob Creek single barrel. It's 120 proof straight Kentucky bourbon whiskey from Cleveland Bourbon Club called Gazebo. It is aged 12 years, 3 months, and 16 days. And then Dustin can, I'm going to tell a quick story about Knob Creek and how, you know, Jim Beam and stuff like that. And then I would kind of like to hear, and I think the viewers would like to hear kind of the story about like Joel and like how, you know, how things are running and how you met Joel and how all this stuff works with the community and stuff. But so last time we had Knob Creek on was episode 10, and it was back when we had that budget whiskey and cigar, that budget kind of night. And what's cool about that is that was 100 proof, and this is 120 proof. So this is kind of the big brother to the regular small batch Knob Creek that you find in your shelves. But again, this is a single barrel pick.
Yes.
So the Cleveland Bourbon Club went down and picked this barrel, and this is the one that they chose. We talk about picks all the time and how people, you know, go down and do that kind of thing. So basically what it is you go down there and you obviously arrange through either a liquor store or these groups arrange through some kind of entity that has a liquor license. And then they go down there and they pick from select barrels that the head distiller or one of their people of their choosing at the distillery pick for them. Obviously, you know, Phil and I have talked about, you know, they're not going to give you a shitty barrel, really. So you may it's not like when you go down there, you're not picking out of like 16 barrels. Like you're not going to go down there and drink like 16 ounces and try to leave the distillery. But
barrel 14 again?
Yeah, exactly. Your taste buds would be completely off their rockers. But yeah, they do that. So that's exactly what happened with this. And tasting it right off the bat, it's kind of hard to kind of get the nose on it just because it's cold outside and smell kind of dissipates when it's cold outside. And it messes with your nostrils and your sinuses and stuff like that.
Even if your sinuses are...
Like you?
Yeah, my sinuses are a little out of whack, so
But kind of what I get out of this, just off the bat, Knob Creek at that 120 mark, proof-wise, so it's 60% alcohol. It's definitely got that kick to it. It's got that alcohol burn off the rip. And it always has that honey and the caramel flavor. I think you're always going to hear us say that when we're talking about bourbons.
Need a pour.
Yeah.
For those watching on Facebook Live,
You've been doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, behind the scenes. You know, it kind of like got going where it seemed warmer in the garage, opened the windows, set the phone and everything. And
I was holding down the fort.
No, you did great. I mean, it's just funny. Like, I don't even have this in there yet because I wasn't finished with my one drink before. And we had Nate turn on the light in here, and I looked over. I was like, I didn't plug in my phone, so like halfway through, already going out. Like,
well, I'll shut up then and try to. Last time we talked about how if I say something, you may think the same thing and get that out of it. But if
no, I thought that's
but it's definitely good.
I think it is really good. Off the nose, I got a lot of dark brown sugar, kind of that molasses. You know, your dark sugars
I agree.
from it. It gives it that sweetness, and you do get a bite. It kind of lingers right on the front part of your tongue, not the tip, but right across the front middle portion. It just sits there.
Yeah.
That's where the finish is. I think it's really great. Just a few other notes on it. These are some some things that Joel sent me. The barrel was picked in April of 2017.
Nice.
It was named Gazebo in tribute to the gazebo at the General Nelson Inn in Bardstown, Kentucky, which is where they all stayed for the weekend.
Oh, cool.
But they used the gazebo as a meeting place to gather and basically bottle share the whole weekend. So it's kind of like their go-to spot for the whole weekend.
Heaven.
Yeah, basically.
What you're trying to tell me.
Yeah. And then the Gazebo Boris, which is the beer, was released in January of 2018 after being aged for an extra 3 months in the Knob Creek barrel.
Interesting.
So
it only takes, I mean, we'll taste it later, but it only takes 3 months for it to get that flavor.
I think that's the typical for a bourbon barrel-aged beer.
Yeah.
Especially with your stouts. They typically go for that 3 month range. The Woodford Double Oaked, when they put it in the second barrel, it's only in there for about 3 to 5 months.
I've heard distilleries do that. Like, it's not very long if they're doing like a sherry or a port finish or any of these finishes.
Yeah, they call it a finish, I think, because of that reason. You know, it's just something that it does literally out of the whole scope of aging. That's all they do.
I just figured, like, when I first heard that there would be an extensive amount of time.
Well, there is another Boris that was bourbon barrel aged.
Isn't it?
That's really good.
That is, what's it called? The Crusher, I think is what it's called.
It's intense.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really intense.
It's an extended barrel age. So it's aged 5 times longer than the normal barrel. So if that means 15 months, I don't know. So it'll probably pull a lot more flavors out. I have that bottle as well. So we can attack that at another time.
What I like about this whiskey and this pick is from maybe, again, all of our palates change all the time. And for our viewers and listeners, you know, their palates will change as well. The further that they get on their whiskey and their cigar journeys, if they, you know, contribute with us and do this with us. But what I like about Knob Creek is in this pick is that I remember it being very, very hot.
The regular single barrel.
Not the pick that we have on the table right here.
Okay.
And this one, knowing Joel, because he was part of the pick, knowing him, he likes a really long finish. And if you let this sit for a second, it has a massively long finish.
It lingers.
Does. It absolutely does.
It definitely lingers. And I like that about Joel because I'm the same way. Because you don't want it to go away.
Dissipate.
Yeah, when you're, you know, done sipping it.
So I met Joel at the Tinder Box. I stopped in one day and he was there with our friend Bob Breyer. Mm-hmm. And I sat down and kind of chatted with him a little bit and come to find out that we both transitioned into bourbons from beer. So I started as like a beer connoisseur and loved trying different beers and trying different stuff like that. I had one summer I was a big IPA fan, but then after that I was like, I don't really want it. But I always liked trying different things. And then progressively I started to get into bourbons, hang around the shop and hang out with you guys. And so that transition kind of transpired. And just like him, when it came to beers, I always was attracted to the ones that were the higher alcohol content, those higher percentages.
Were you in college?
Yeah. No, this is actually after college.
See where he's going with it, though?
But actually, towards the end of college, I started going. It will. But, for example, this is 9.4% by volume.
Yeah.
Which is fairly high compared to a lot of others. 9.4.
It's high for a beer.
It is.
Wine.
A lot of your imperial stouts, imperial IPAs are going to be your 8, 8.5, 10, and I've seen some brushing the 12% mark.
Do you mind if I pop that?
No, by all means. But once you break that 12 and hit that 13% mark, then it kind of funnels into that wine, mead range.
Hoppin' frogs.
So and no, I think from my understanding is that a lot of times that's because like in certain states, like in Ohio, you can't go over a certain alcohol content, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why a lot of times they'll do a mead and have a higher percentage because legally you're allowed to have a higher percentage in a mead or wine or whatever. But in other states, if I'm not mistaken, like in Michigan and some other states, you can have higher than 12 or whatever the rule is here in Ohio.
So I'm sorry, I was pouring that. What did you say, Steve, about the...
Basically, state by state, it's all basically, it's
regulated?
governed. Yeah, it's regulated on how...
On beer?
On beer.
Okay.
On how high of it. Like, if you brew it in Ohio or you sell it in Ohio, my understanding is you can't have it higher than a certain percent. I believe it's 12.
In Ohio?
Oh, well, see, Owen Weiss or Wiss, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name, but Ohio is now a no limit on beer state, so maybe you will see some more of that.
Definitely would. I mean, that would be awesome. I'm not a big beer guy, obviously, but I think that's cool for, especially with all these craft breweries and stuff, and the craft distilleries, and it's cool how it's all grown to all these different breweries and distilleries, and how all these different expressions of this stuff. It allows you to experience a lot more.
I think it's great. It's something though that you get into, I think, with the craft brews, especially something like this that I haven't had it yet. If it tastes good, the issue is that a lot of like beer drinkers, you drink it more like a normal beverage. It's not like a liquor where you're sipping on it or anything like that. So when you have beer drinkers that are dipping their toe into like the craft brew, I guess just the big machine that it is now, where it's going to different breweries, it's going to like places like World of Beer, like that's near the Tinder Box at Easton.
Yeah.
You know, they've got like 500 different beers all over the world, all over the United States, all of that stuff. But if you're like just pounding samples or pounding, like not pounding, but like you're drinking, like you drink like a Bud Light or something like that, that's 4 to 5%, and you're drinking, man, that's really good. Like, yeah, I'll have another one. I mean, I remember when World of Beer first opened, and we were going down there, and we're like trying to race to 50, just like with some friends, because they had that whole loyalty program, which is brilliant business because
race to
people are
50.
Oh yeah, I stopped at like 300 and some different beers like a couple years later.
Wow.
And there's people that are way above that. But my point is that we would just be drinking. You have like 3 craft beers and not really think anything of it because it's refreshing, a lot of them, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's a hot summer day, you're just drinking a couple beers. You have 3 of them that are like 10%, well, you just had like a case of Miller Lite in about an hour. And, and on top of that, I feel like you have like more sugars and other ingredients in some of these too.
Oh, yeah.
So you include that, and so that's where it's like, I get you don't want to have the restriction in like a state of Ohio, but now that you have no limit, it's kind of like, man, I just made a really refreshing beer that is 18% alcohol content. And you're like, cool, let me have it. Man, that is light and refreshing. Let me have another one. And then it's like, you're just on the floor.
So what do you think that the limit should be?
I don't have an opinion on it. I'm saying that.
No, I'm asking you though. I'm asking you. Just us talking.
As far as like,
I think there should be no limit. I mean, we drink whiskey all day. I mean, this has got what 60% at least. What they say with this particular one.
Yeah.
So you're at 60%. So clearly, I have no issue with high alcohol content. It's just the fact that it's different for a lot of people drinking whiskey or drinking liquor.
You're thinking of others.
I'm thinking of myself too. I think about others. I'm thinking about the whole regulation of it. I mean, it's like I don't want to have regulation, but to Dustin's point, there are plenty of people out there like, hey man, drink this. It's got like 17% blood alcohol. like you'll almost die if you have like a 6-pack of it. And you're like, cool man, I'll get it. There's just
I don't know if I relate.
There's a lot of fucking idiots out there. We're in good company, I feel like, sometimes in the garage. That statement, but I guess that's the mentality. Because I think, especially the U.S., in general, beer for a long time was, just like bourbon, we talk about it. Yeah. Bourbon a lot of the time was a mixer. So it's like that was the whole thing. You put a shot in with Coke or a mixer like an old fashioned, whatever it is, in a cocktail, and you drink several of them, but you're not drinking like a full pour, a big pour of the alcohol.
Right.
Same thing with beer. You can have, drinking liquor, I can have several like Miller Lights and be fine because you drink it slower and it's a bigger drink.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just cool. I actually like this. I'll say that.
So what did you get? I know just like not a lot of people will nose beers like we do whiskeys.
I know.
You were, and I did the same thing, but so
it's just what I know. I really didn't do it for any.
So what notes did you get just off the nose?
So I've tried I don't know if you remember if I tried the bourbon. What was that called? The Kentucky Barrel Bourbon. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So that's also it's an imperial stout, right?
No, it's it's an ale, I believe, that's finished in bourbon barrels.
Well, whatever it is,
Kentucky Bourbon Barrel.
Ale. What I've got notes wise off of the beers, the stouts and the ales and stuff that's aged in bourbon barrels. I've got a very that burn from the barrel and the tannins that's in the wood from being aged in the wood and stuff. With the beer, it turns into like something that would resemble a soda or a pop or like that carbonation.
Yeah,
I get that burn like at least that's what I associate it with. Because I don't I obviously like some beers are carbonated, but it's
correct.
Like, it's you at least in the past ones that I've had. I guess I haven't had good beer, but you don't taste that carbonation.
You don't taste the carbonation; it's more of a feeling.
Yeah.
So I think it's going along with the taste that you have, the flavors that you're tasting. I mean, this definitely is I think it's a good stout.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of chocolate and
I get a lot of dark chocolate off of it.
Yeah, our stouts are normally like toffee, dark chocolate.
Yeah.
Usually. I mean, as the listeners and viewers are finding out, I know nothing about this.
This is Jake's first beer.
This is a different world.
I remember my first stout.
Yeah. I mean, this is my first one, but I don't know anything about it.
Well, and I think what was interesting, because I nosed it too, and I got a lot of milkiness kind of from it. I mean, it is an oatmeal stout. I don't know the whole brewing process of that, but I'd be intrigued to find out.
This is better than that Kentucky Barrel Bourbon. I'll be honest, this is actually better.
Yeah. Well, Hop and Frog has won tons of awards.
Yeah, that's actually
with a lot of their beers.
You know, I'm afraid to say it, but I think I would actually drink that.
Why are you afraid to say it?
Good, we've got a 22-ounce bottle here.
Well, because I don't want to say, like, I'll drink that, and then, like, next time I try it, be like, I don't know.
No, I know. I think you're a prime example, as we've talked about before, with the whole, like, scotch and everything else. Like, where we first met, and you're like, I don't like scotch, I don't drink it. And it's like, well, try this one. You're like, well, that's actually pretty good. It's that kind of open yourself up. And you were talking about earlier about the craft brew and how big it's gotten and how exciting that is. I mean, that's part of it, too. Because now you're appealing to a lot of different people, different flavor, like palates as far as that goes. And some people like I don't care for most IPAs. But when I say that, it's because I don't like that real hoppy finish.
Yeah.
And it's like this thing that just stays with you, kind of tightens up, like the back of your throat and everything like that. But then someone will give me one, I'm like, that's pretty good. Kind of hoppy at the end, but it's not that. I mean, that's refreshing. Like that's an IPA or whatever.
Yeah, I like it.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, go ahead, Dustin. Sorry.
I think it's really good. I can get a little picky when it comes to stouts because there are some that just have that bitterness to it. And in my mind, I found I tend to drift towards those imperial stouts, the Russian imperial stouts, double stouts.
Like porters?
Yeah, I like some porters.
How about brown ales?
Yeah.
I feel like that's like right in the middle of like
the
lighter beers, and then like you get that brown, and it's kind of got some.
Kind of like a mesh between a porter and you start.
Yeah.
Then you get into kind of like the lagers. But brown ales are good. Newcastle makes a good one.
I'll ask this: have you guys been like going like back and forth?
I have.
Yeah, I have too. I don't know if it's like just the whiskey lingering, but I feel like
hit the cigar and then go to the beer, or take a drink of the beer and then take a draw of the cigar.
I think it pairs better than the whiskey.
I think it does too, actually.
Yeah, and we'll get into the cigar, but it is super rich.
Mm-hmm. But I've gotten picky when it comes to stouts. There's been a few. One of my favorites, hands down, was the Oil of Aphrodite at Jackie O's. Of course, I went to OU, so that was like the hangout spot I went to.
Jackie O's?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then they brew all of their beers, so all the beers on tap are only ones that they make.
Mm-hmm.
And they always have a lot of random ones.
Whoa. Sorry to interrupt you.
For those listening on the actual podcast,
that was cool.
Got really excited.
Well, it's exciting when you experience something.
Yeah, no one's saying it isn't.
No, I know.
You're clearly excited.
I'm excited because it's.
Wait, how was it again?
I don't know.
There it is. Okay.
The wing flapping.
Yeah.
No. After hitting the cigar and smoking the cigar and then trying the Imperial Stout, the Hop and Frog, it just the richness is all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's really good.
Goes really well with the cigar.
Oh yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. I may need to get some more. That's maybe my only beer that I drink.
We're going to World Beer with Jake.
I don't think they're gonna have this one.
No, but we can try some other like
different stuff.
stouts and porters.
See,
oh God,
I'm game with that.
This is what was cool. This was what was cool when like Steve and I first met because like you mentioned the Scotch and the Irish. Because I would bring the bourbon to the table, and then he normally had some sort of Irish whiskey or Scotch that you had in the house.
Yeah.
And we try different things, and this is what has started this whole movement. Really, is what I like to call it for us. And then it just transformed into like Steve trying different stuff, me trying different stuff. It definitely opened my eyes because like I was
absolutely
I was so like bourbon, like nothing. I don't like anything else because I tried either Lafroig or something that was super peaty, super smoky.
Yeah,
and then an
really
Irish that's either super light and it doesn't have like, all that flavor to it that it should have or that I think it should have. And I don't know. It's definitely cool and for the viewers and the listeners. I mean, you should definitely branch out and not stick to either bourbon or Scotch or Irish.
That's all about
whiskey.
trying new things, right?
If you don't stick to just IPAs and imperial stouts, and you branch out for sure.
Well, so we talk about the legs on a whiskey, on the size of the glass. The beer actually has the same thing on it a little bit. Not quite as much as you would find in the whiskeys, but the beer has it as well. Almost.
You think that comes from the barrel?
I think it would. What resin is left in the wood from the char.
There's tannins and that
lactate.
Yeah,
and that. Yeah. So the beer's going to really pull that out and blend with it, even if it is just that short three-month period of time. So it's going to pull a lot of those flavors and kind of mingle with that. There's a slight richness from the Knob Creek when you get those dark sugars.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it enhances that imperial stout.
Yeah, if you're drinking both these together, I mean, unfortunately, I don't think anyone that's listening can get their whole hands on this. Besides, like the guy, and which is unfortunate. But here's the cool thing: is that this isn't far off from what you can normally get in the store. It's $44, $46 out the door after tax. That it's just Knob Creek single barrel, straight Kentucky bourbon whiskey, 100 proof.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is excellent. Yeah, I mean, I'd say this it's different though, but I mean, you're right. I mean, it's going to be same ballpark for sure.
Yeah, I think the normal, the stuff, the everyday stuff that you see on the shelf. Granted, it is a single barrel, so they could be different barrels and taste completely different. But for the most part, I think they're definitely going to have a little bit more heat behind them. They're not going to linger like this. And but I think they're approachable for someone that I think this is approachable for someone that is used to drinking straight whiskey, no matter if you like Scotch or Irish or bourbon. I think it's something that you should at least try, and it's under $50, so I think.
Well, I think this one in particular is aged for about 3 years longer than the normal.
It says 12 on the back.
Yep, 12 years, 3 months, and the normal one is 9.
Yeah.
Which it says that on the front, and my dumbness didn't figure that one out before we got started.
Math's hard.
No, I mean
math is hard. I don't like counting.
Math's hard, yeah.
You don't have to do that. You were in charge of bringing the stuff.
Which
thank you, by the way.
Was it Joel, right?
Yeah, Joel's the one who.
Thank you. Cheers to Joel.
Yes,
if you're still on the Facebook Live, or if you're on any of the other recordings, thank you very much. This is excellent.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Very good.
And one thing before we get into the cigar is before the podcast we were talking about how so on all these Knob Creek single barrels, they call for 120 proof. And they're aged for 9 years. That's what they say on the label. That's what they all say on every label that they do. And we've talked about this numerous times of doing these picks and stuff and how people do them. The difference is when you see that age statement on them and you hear a Knob Creek single barrel, it says 9 years on the label, but it's a pick. And then the back label, the sticker, whoever picked it, chose to put on it, on the bottle, says 12 years. Well, how is that legal? How can they do that? If someone's asking that is, well, they're able to do that because they're actually, there's no law that says against that it's against that.
Right.
And if you think about it, the distillery themselves are actually screwing themselves out of money because they're aging that 3 years longer than what they're supposed to be. So they're paying extra property tax on that barrel to do that. And they're probably paying more government tax on that as well.
Yep.
Besides just like state and local taxes. So there's no law against it, but that's how they're able to do it.
Am I mistaken if I recall from previous conversations that if it says age 9 years, it has to be at least 9 years?
At least.
Yes, that's the big part, right?
Yeah.
So that's the big part is that it's not a matter of like, and I'm sure it's supply and demand and everything like that.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? So, and they probably are, since the bourbon craze has gone nuts.
And there's a ton of these picks out here, by the way. If you go down to Kentucky, you can find hundreds of different liquor. Any liquor store is going to have a Knob Creek barrel pick, without a doubt.
So Nate Hale's asking, was it aged more after they picked it? This sticker is actually fairly specific. Barreled March 2nd, 2005, bottled June 18th, 2017. So that is that time period. That's the 12 years. I mean, it says age 12 years, 3 months, 18 days.
Couple extra months from when they actually picked it.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's specific. I mean, it's age 12 years, 3 months, and 18 days.
I wonder if Joel, because when they did pick this, because they have to pick the sticker after they pick it. And
that goes on the back.
That goes on the bottom.
Well, because there's two. You got the one made that says picked by this.
Yeah.
Dude, does all of them have that sticker on the back as well?
No,
that's a custom sticker. Here's the thing too: is people can pick when you do a barrel pick, you can do custom stickers. So some of them do. Like there's one out there that's a Russell's pick, and it's got the Simpsons on it. I forget what it's called, but that's how custom it can be, and it's becoming a craze now. Like one of our friends, Ryan, like jokes about like he's gonna stick like an Optimus Prime sticker on like a Jim Beam white label and call it like a pick or something, because that's how crazy. That's how crazy it's gotten. But anyways, with this
Optimus Beam.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's better.
Bingo.
Bumblebee.
Trademark. Thank you.
Yeah, you can't have an Optimus Prime sticker and call it Bumblebee. I do like that one though. That's better. I don't like how Bumblebee has his own movie coming out. I think that's garbage. I think it's garbage.
It's been.
It could
I think
be.
you're pouring out the Transformers, and that has a personal identity to my childhood. I don't like it. So I'm gonna say it right now.
Are you waiting on a Thundercats movie?
I've been waiting for years. And G.I. Joe had a shit movie. That was garbage.
That's true. That's true.
Although they added The Rock after that, I'm good with that.
I will say, I'm guessing that what they did is they picked this barrel, and much like what they did with the Bourbon Hunters barrel of the 1792 Full Proof, is they held it for longer, and that's when they picked the sticker, that's when they put the sticker on it, and that's the actual age of the barrel that was actually dumped. But it may have been, when did you say they actually picked it? April.
So they said 12 months, or 12 years, 3 months, 16 days.
So April.
Yeah, April, May, June.
Yeah, I mean,
April, May, June.
it's just the process at that point.
Yeah.
So there's 3 months more on that barrel than when they picked it, which probably did it good anyways.
Hey, it's absolutely delicious.
Yeah. I've tried a couple Knob Creek single barrel. There's a couple 14 years out there that are awesome.
Really?
Yeah, but with this cigar, the El Rey del Mundo, or am I saying that right?
El Rey del Mundo.
I always worry about saying it correctly when it's a long title.
El Rey del Mundo.
Okay. Yeah.
King of the world.
Yes.
Tape it in your notebook right now.
Yes. Well, I will say with these two, with the Hop and Frog, thank you for bringing that, Dustin. The Gazebo Barrel Aged Imperial Stout and the Knob Creek. It's been awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Save them real quick for the audio, and we will get right into it.
Well, the El Rey del Mundo, this one has been around for a long time. The name is one of those Cuban names back in the 1800s. It's kind of had its ups and downs. This was a very popular cigar once they opened up from General Cigars, I guess, is who owns it. But it's the same company and factories that in Honduras that do Punch and a couple others. It kind of gets, I think, Hoy de Monterey, but it gets shadowed by those a lot of times. So El Rey del Mundo, it's hard now to find a whole lot of accurate information. Recently, I was even talking to our general rep, and I asked him about the wrapper leaf on it because, looking at you back over, I smoked these years ago, and then we just brought them back into our shop, but it's a great dark wrapper. Half the stuff is saying that it's an oily, dark Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's others that are saying the Oscuro, which is what's on the box, is a Connecticut broadleaf. So it's kind of all over the board. And when I asked Jonathan Herring, our rep, I said, what is it? And he's like, well, wait, did you even buy that from us, or did you get it from a distributor? And I was like, I think we actually might have gotten it from Phillips and King, our distributor. Well, I mean, it all is coming from the same company, right?
Yeah.
But
he don't get it cut.
He doesn't. Well, he's salary, he's fine. And we ordered plenty from them. But the whole thing is that even the rep is like, I don't think we sell it. It's kind of dropped off that much. It's dropped off that much. And you go on like some of the other even online places, they're all conflicting stories as well. So it's something where when I'm tasting it, I think it's probably a broadleaf, but it's tough.
But we don't know.
We don't know. And then you see other ones, and I mean, everything from what I remembered was that it was an Oscuro wrapper, which is what it says on the box, but it's tough to say what it is. And I don't know if Nate knows better than I do if he's familiar with this, but it's I know it's coming out of Honduras. It's got Honduran, Dominican, and Nicaraguan tobacco in the filler from what I remember and read. But as far as the wrapper leaf, it is a mystery. I could see it going either way. I think it's more of a broadleaf look to it. But
it tastes like a broadleaf.
And it comes, so for those of you that haven't seen it, it's great. Packaging is very, very classic, very unique. Basically, each individual cigar in a classic just wooden box in a tissue paper wrapping over the entire cigar. That's where the band is, which is, again, very, very classic looking. Mm-hmm. Looks like it is from the 1800s. And then you take that off, and it's just a naked cigar underneath, and that's where you cut, light, and smoke it. So
it looks like a Christmas gift, man.
Yeah,
when you,
it does.
When you look at it, coming in a Tinder Box, you look at it.
I was unwrapping. I was like, really, birthday present?
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Please.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very good. It's a rich cigar. It does go better with the beer for sure. I think we talked about it earlier about as far as the pairings. We usually luck out.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad with the Knob Creek, but the Knob Creek I think is a tough one too. Actually, the more I've sipped on this glass here, I think it's tougher to pair with a cigar, especially a rich cigar, because it's a standalone. It's got a lot going on there, so it's something that's going to be tough to actually, in my opinion, get in line with a cigar. You almost have to maybe lighten up the cigar. But I mean, it's a tough one to compliment, because that every time you take a sip of the whiskey, for me, it's actually just overtaking the cigar. So then I go back to the cigar, and it's like you kind of get some of the flavors, but they're almost muted or subdued, because when you go back to the beer, that's what I like Dustin's point and the wow factor with Jake when he tried it. When you go with something like that stout, the oatmeal stout, there's a lot of like food flavors and everything else there, as opposed to different with this is I didn't add any water to the Knob Creek, but that beer really, I think, is more subtle, has a lot of flavor, it's very full flavored, but it's not very strong. And that's where I compare it definitely with the El Rey del Mundo.
I added water to the Knob Creek, and it's funny because it didn't do anything.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't had Knob Creek, like the 120 proof, I mean, you brace yourself before, you better eat and have like a bottle of water before you get into it.
Which one?
The Knob Creek.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like when we do bookers, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta be prepared
I
for
think
it if
this
you're not
is
ready.
the nightcap drink. Like that one thing that just...
Well, it's perfect for this weather, man. The Midwest, what are we, like 30 degrees or so right now? So, I mean...
Yeah, it's 35 right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is perfect.
Although it is 53 in the garage, so we're winning there a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, what do you guys think of the cigar? I mean, as far as I know, Jake, you liked it the other night. What do you think, Dustin?
I'll let Dustin.
I really like this. Of course, you know, you get the I don't want to say bias intonation when you look and see a dark wrapped cigar that it's going to be a full body in your face punch. You don't get any of that.
Yeah.
And I think the blend of that Nicaraguan, Honduran, Dominican in the middle of that really kind of smooths it over. You get a little bit of that spice, but it's really rich, just like you guys said. It's got that smoothness, which is why I really believe it, you know, just like we said, pairs very well with the Boris Stout versus the whiskey. Because, you know, just like we've had the Bookers, they've all been hot, but they've all been one of those. It's hard to pick a cigar that would even go with it. That one wouldn't overpower the other, or
the
whiskey wouldn't overpower the cigar. But I'll have to get some of these.
There's nothing really like, you don't retrohale, right? Or you do, Dustin? The retrohale just has, it's funny, as rich as this is, like when you do the retrohale, it's more of like a dry spice. There's no like real pepper, like there's no nostril burn. Yeah, it's interesting.
See,
like flattens out.
I actually smoked it last night for the first time when I came to the shop for my shift. And when I was smoking it, and I'll see if this cigar does the same because I'm only like maybe a quarter of the way in. But after smoking the whole thing, this is one of very few cigars, I will say, that it actually gets better as you smoke it.
You don't think that's common?
I don't.
Wow.
Okay. I don't. There's a few. And the BS Gold is one of them. And that's why I say, and that's not just a plug, that's like my actual belief. And that's what I feel with this one. Like you guys know, I don't smoke a lot of cigars like down to the last like half inch or so, or inch. And I did with this one last night. So yeah. But what's funny is, again, like the viewers and the listeners know that I don't retrohale, and I've tried, and I'll get to it one day. But I've definitely, last night at least, I noticed that there was a little hint of pepper. Without drinking anything, there was a little hint of pepper, and it grew as you got farther back. But I thought when I was talking to Tanya last night, because she was asking for a cigar, and I gave her the same one. Okay. And she tried it, and she loved it as well. And she also said the same thing, as it's kind of the perfect combination of, spice and sweetness. And especially like off the rip, like trying it last night, I was really, really impressed with it. I'm still impressed with it. I was impressed with the Imperial Stout. And honestly, I thought it brought out, I'm a little bit different than you guys, I thought it brought out a little bit more in the whiskey.
What did it bring out?
The Knob Creek.
Do you have any opinion on that?
I thought it brought out like a little bit of a, we talk a lot about like the ryes, we get like that nutmeg, like cookie, molasses, like ginger snap flavor.
Yeah, I definitely get more of that.
And I don't know if maybe it's just like the cold in the air, but I definitely got that when putting like a dash of water in the Knob Creek. And I know I said it didn't change, but smoking the cigar, putting the water in the Knob Creek, all of it combined, I definitely got that like nutmeg, molasses, like ginger snap, kind of cookie-esque food flavors that we talk about, like going on in there. Mm-hmm. So I mean that's why I get so excited when we're doing all this stuff, because I really, really love food, and that's kind of a main problem for me right now. I love food, and that's what I do with whiskey. And even if I don't want to try like the beer, the stouts, the Irish, and all the drinks and the cigars and stuff, I look at it as I pick out food flavors like you do with ryes, Steve.
Yeah, right. I mean?
And that's what makes me so excited, because it's a new experience.
Yeah.
So and that's kind of like what you were doing with Dustin when you met Joel, and you've met him through Columbus Bourbon Club, and that I think the listeners should appreciate that, and give thanks to understanding like what the story is behind you bringing this, why we have it on the show, and what we're experiencing right now. I mean, that's what it's all about. I think
it is. It really is. And
that was kind of a rant, but feeling it.
These two bottles wouldn't be on the table without having that relationship that was created just by simply walking into the Tinder Box that one night.
Yeah,
just meeting someone who coincidentally got into bourbon through starting at beers.
Yeah.
And really wanting to broaden your perspective of the different types of beers, the different styles of beers. Not just that, I mean, you've got hundreds of different types of stouts, porters. Each variety has its own breakdown of a variety of different ones. And then you start venturing into, the ones with a higher alcohol content, not just because you know, you get drunk faster, but because, you know, sometimes a lot of those will have more flavors that come out that you don't necessarily get in your larger batches.
It's like a higher proof whiskey.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with that, and that's where, you know, we kind of really hit it off with that, because then we ventured into whiskeys.
You and Joel, just for
Joel,
listeners and viewers.
Yeah, Joel and myself, we, you know, really hit it off with that piece, because then just saying you get into bourbons, and then next thing you know, you're trying higher proof stuff, and then you're getting into that barrel proof and the barrel strength and, you know, things like that, and then your small batches, and then your picks, and then, you know, special releases and things like that, and you're looking at not necessarily what it tastes like, but what's different between this and like a normal Knob Creek single barrel. Or, you know, we've done a tasting. I had a couple Old Weller Antique picks from the same store. One's chill filtered, one's non-chill filtered.
We had
picked at the same time, and it was the most interesting thing, because that's not something people typically think about.
Dustin came over and we had like 5 different picks like sitting on the table, and we were like sampling. That was a good night.
It was.
That was a good night.
But you know, those are the little things. But you know, to your point, you know, you give thanks to those people around you, because a lot of those things wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, that's, you know, why I personally am passionate about bourbon is, you know, there is so much passion behind it. There's so much drive behind it, and, you know, each pour that I get from a bottle, you know, I'm essentially giving thanks to whoever made it. You know, that master distiller, that batch. You know, whether it is just a single bottle of Buffalo Trace, or, you know, you get a store pick. You know, you're still paying them. Yeah, you're still paying them, but you're coincidentally, you know, you're enjoying it just the same as they did.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really fascinating.
Speaking of which, it's kind of cool. Steve was gracious enough to buy a Wild Turkey 101, which is kind of their classic.
I mean, it's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, it's got turkey on it.
It's called turkey. I mean, yeah, it's got turkey on it. I mean, it is turkey.
Exactly. So, but it's kind of cool because Jimmy Russell turned 84 yesterday from Wild Turkey. He's been in the business for, I believe, around it's 50 plus years. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And then his son's in it, and we
Eddie Russell, right?
Yeah, Eddie Russell.
Yeah,
it's amazing. But what are you happy with the pairing, Steve? But you think the stout is more?
So yeah, I mean, to be honest, with these, you know, I think it goes better. Like I said, with the beer, the whiskey is very good. I don't know if it would go better with something else smoking, but I don't really love the pairing. The El Rey del Mundo, I've always liked the cigar. I've never loved the cigar. It's a solid stick for me. The construction on mine, like tonight, and that's kind of what I remember sometimes, is that it's a little stiff. I'm not getting a whole lot of draw. I'm not getting a whole lot of smoke as much as you guys are. So I think maybe that might be an inconsistency there. But I mean, overall, I think they're all good. All 3 of these items are very, very good. Yeah. You know, I think the beer is excellent. I think the whiskey is up there towards excellent, and the cigar I think is a solid, good $10 cigar.
You proud of me though? Since I tried the beer, I could have said just I'm not doing it,
but I think to your point though, I think when you're talking about trying new things, it's with what you've learned on just bourbons alone.
Yeah.
How different they all are. You can't just say I like bourbon. You know you like all types of bourbon, right? So that's the whole thing. You say you like food. I mean that's where I see, you know, you as anyone. It's like to not try something. That's to like say someone like, hey, try this meat, try this dish, whatever. You're like, no.
Fried crab.
Yeah.
Or scorpion.
Yeah. I mean, that might be a little extreme.
Yeah, it's a little
I think beer is a little more common than fried scorpion, but I just think that you know, overall, I think these are all good together. It's kind of interesting to dance back between all 3 of them.
Yeah. For sure.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you, Dustin, for bringing these.
Yeah, absolutely.
And great job by the Cleveland Bourbon Club, man.
Yeah,
it's an excellent pick.
Great pick. This is their 12th pick that they've done, and they've gotten. Let's see, I looked it up.
They had a 1792 pick that was called Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
and it was really, really good.
They let's see, their 13th pick was an Elijah Craig.
They've done 2 Elijah Craigs.
A Russell's, a Weller, Buffalo Trace. They've done 2 LKIs, a 10-year and a 12-year. 1792 full proof, a couple Knob Creek Rise, another Russell's Reserve.
Nice.
They did a Tomfoolery,
which I still have not had.
Where tomfoolery, that's up north around
Cleveland area. Yeah.
Well, no, they have it here in the stores. I mean,
Oh, that's right.
We've been trying. We were afraid to try it because it was not high. See, that's one of those things.
I haven't heard much good.
Yeah.
Their first pick was Smooth Ambler Old Scout.
Nice. And then they did a Kentucky Spirit as well.
Yep, Kentucky Spirit, more Knob Creeks.
See, that's one of my
Old
dreams.
Scouts.
Like, I went and did we talked about, the Hotel Tango pick.
Right.
I know we've been talking about whiskey for a while in the Scars, but when I went and did the Hotel Tango pick, that was awesome. And I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I can only imagine what it's like to go and, think about how long, Nate's got his torch in the back, he's welding.
Yeah.
But
it's not me this time.
Yes, that's true. Think about, he's 84 years old, he's been doing this for like 50 years, Jimmy Russell.
Yeah.
And then he's got his son there that's been doing it for, 30 years. And you go there and you do like a Russell's pick or a Kentucky Spirit pick or whatever pick, Wild Turkey and Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. And they just, obviously you're paying for it, but all of this is for you. They're taking their time. They're there for you.
Yeah.
And they roll out all these barrels for you, and you're getting to try it with them, drink with them, like get their picking their heads. Like, I don't know if normal people understand this, but that's like.
Well, it takes money obviously to do that. Like, you have to be able to shell out. I mean, what's a barrel?
Average, I'd say 8-9 grand.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, if you think.
It's more than that.
I mean, sometimes it depends on what the value of the bottle is priced at on average.
Mm-hmm.
So you think, and then it depends on the yield. It depends on what they've paid over the years. It's a lot of what the distillery kind of puts at you as a.
No, I'd imagine, different distilleries are different. Yeah, I mean, obviously you're going to have different.
It really truly
prices.
depends on if you got it's the bottle yield and the price of the bottle.
So that's why these groups do it, because there's obviously a pool of money. Like, everyone chips in.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll just say, Joel, if you got 2 of these laying around, I'll take a Knob Creek, and even I'll buy my first beer.
Nate says, how many people are in the Cleveland Club?
That I don't know.
Okay.
That's
it's been around a lot longer than any of the Columbus ones, I understand.
Yeah, that's why they've done a lot of picks.
Man, look at the remnants of that.
A stout?
Stout. It's like not coming down off the sides of the glass.
I know, I poured water in mine and drank out of it, and it was still, the stout's still in there.
Yeah, both. That's one crazy thing I'll say. I like the pairing of the beer and the whiskey just simply for the fact that they both have this incredible finish.
Yeah.
It just lingers and lingers and lingers. I get that a lot of times from the oatmeal stouts and stuff like that whenever you're drinking it. It just kind of lingers in your throat, in my opinion.
They're both very good, though. Very, very good. But
you good?
We can't.
Nate's comment.
We'll have to make sure we finish the beer, by the way.
All right. You guys have at it.
Can't put the cat back on that one.
Mind if I have some more of the Knob Creek?
Like
I don't want to take too much of it.
God damn, it's like motor oil coming out of there.
It looks like used motor oil, but it drinks like fucking dark chocolate syrup.
Yeah, it's stiff.
Thank you, Dustin, for bringing the Columbus Bourbon Club glasses that they just did.
Mm-hmm.
They look really nice.
They do look nice.
They turned out well. And Ian and Scott and Eric.
All those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did
a really great job.
I knew Ian was ahead of that, but they definitely did a good job.
I gotta tell you, going to the Turkey 101 after that, it's almost more refreshing to me.
Cause it's lighter.
Oh, for sure, yeah. It's like just, it lightens it up, and it's not that I'm not just sitting over here, as the conversation's going on, and it's just kind of just all
sitting
all over, yeah. Like that coating it's almost like rinsing it out.
Yeah.
You gotta rinse out whiskey with other whiskey. I mean,
then you drink the whiskey, and then you drink the stout.
I didn't bring out the water.
Wait.
I didn't bring out water.
Can you repeat that?
Rinse whiskey with whiskey.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, this is how it works.
That is amazing.
Sometimes you have to do it.
Is that not how you do it?
I'm taking vitamins with whiskey. I mean, that's just what you do sometimes. That's what you have on you, right?
I took
Exactly.
before I came.
Wow, perfect.
That's amazing. Perfect.
Hopefully, okay.
It's the night before Thanksgiving.
All right. We gotta keep track of
Someone's not
Dustin. Someone put a bell on him. That's a bite. No, never mind. Not a bell that you have to do yourself, just like a jingling bell. So when you get lost, we can find you. You don't get it?
I get it.
Okay.
Just don't want one.
I've loved the first half of this podcast, and we normally try to keep around like 2.5 hours. But getting into our subject of the evening is, obviously with the festivities and the holiday that we're having this week, Thanksgiving. We're talking about, our topic of the evening is giving thanks, and I think it can go a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different things that you can give thanks to. I think the most important part is to understand like what you're giving thanks to and how to identify what you're giving thanks to and what you should be giving thanks to, whether it be a blessing that has been granted upon you, or whether something has happened in your life and you've had shortcomings and then someone has dug you out of that hole, and stuff like that. And I think it's truly important to understand that we do need to give thanks. Playing devil's advocate, on the other hand, I will say that it kind of reminds me of New Year's as a holiday where, everyone always says, like, I'm turning the page. It's a new me. Like, whatever happened that I thought was bad in, like, the past year has now, like, changed. Well, with Thanksgiving, it's kind of like one of those things. Like, I haven't thought about anybody in the last year or so, but now I know that's like a negative way to look at it, but that's what it kind of reminds me of, is like a lot of people, throughout the year, they're not giving thanks enough, I feel. When it comes to Thanksgiving, everybody like wants to post about what they're thankful for, and that's fine. But I mean, on a regular basis, are you saying thank you? Are you saying
that's something that I thought about.
I mean, it's kind of an interesting question, I thought.
It is, and that's a great point. That was the point when you first started, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, knowing when to give thanks or what to give thanks for, etc. I think there's, in today's world, not many people give thanks just for the sake of giving thanks. Because I know, at least for me, maybe it's just myself, I don't know, but, I say thank you a lot, even just for the littlest of things. Yeah. Because it just shows appreciation. It might not be some monstrous gesture or, going out of your way completely or fully for someone or something, but just that simple, hey, thanks. Thanks, man. I didn't do nothing. No, but I appreciate what you did, even if it was just something as cutting a cigar for you or something like that. So I think even the little things, I don't think people give thanks enough. Yeah. In some aspects. Yeah. Not all, but in some. Yeah.
Well, I think anymore, Thanksgiving obviously is based on an American tradition. Yeah. Right? So, we don't dive into that. And that's part of it, right? So, you lose that translation. Obviously, history has been doctored over the years. So, I thought about leading into this conversation, we would, I'd bring up so the origins of Thanksgiving is this and this.
What's the definition?
But I think without trying to it's almost like a relaxing time. I don't know. I think we talked about this on episode 3 or something like that when it was Valentine's Day. And it's the same thing. It was episode 2. Yeah. So very early on. So if anyone is newer to the podcast, episode 2, it's a different thing. We didn't have any video of that, but look online.
That was a good podcast, man.
It's a great podcast. But my point is that Valentine's Day is something where a lot of people are anti-Valentine's Day, anti-holiday, like you were saying. New Year's is bullshit. New Year's resolution is I'm gonna be a new me. I'm gonna be today I'm gonna give thanks. This week I'm gonna give thanks. And I don't necessarily think that people don't they're not thankful or they're not grateful. They're not appreciative of a lot of things in their lives. I think Thanksgiving is much like Valentine's Day. It's like a lot of holidays, right? Labor Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July. It's like you can celebrate being an American citizen every day, but it's like when 4th of July rolls around, you're all star-spangled out and you're ready to roll, and and obviously then I'm gonna drink beer and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, a lot of times, I think a big part of the tradition that I really enjoy with Thanksgiving is the fact that it brings a lot of families and friends together. So the newer tradition now is that Friendsgiving. Jake used that term in some of the promo stuff for this episode. I think the Friendsgiving is an extension, and we've talked about that on previous episodes, where like friends are an extension of your family. We've had that discussion. So I think all encompassing, we're kind of gotten to this point where a holiday, the thing I love about like something like Thanksgiving is that it actually gives you an opportunity to not just say give thanks, but actually have a sense of thankfulness and to get together. I mean, there are a lot of people that maybe even listening to this podcast that don't have anyone to get together. So Thursday tomorrow is, or if you're on the audio yesterday, whatever it is, like Thursday Thanksgiving is always a typical, unfortunately, lonelier time where you're remembering family traditions that you don't have going on anymore. But I think a big part of that is there is that Friendsgiving. So there's a lot of guys, a lot of guys and girls from the cigar shop, that community, that family, those friends. A lot of them are wishing each other happy Thanksgiving today, and a lot of them are like, I wish you guys were open tomorrow. But we're not, because then, you have families to go to. My Thanksgiving has changed over the years, where now I still get to, luckily, and I'm thankful for that, is to spend it with my mom. My last year was the first year my dad wasn't with us.
I'm sure that was
so
hard.
Well, it's every holiday. I mean, it's just that you don't have an empty chair, but I mean, it's different. So things evolve, and I think that's something that you also grow with and have more appreciation for the fact that you can get together with people, whether it be the family you're with. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily. That's a big part of the holiday, is that they're not thankful or appreciative vocally, if you will, of their family, of their friends, until they're years later, and they remember back to their family traditions and how they used to gather around, mom or dad or someone, they brought in turkey, or they cooked a turkey, or whatever it is. You go over to grandparents' house, you go over to aunt and uncle's house. I mean, hell, when I was married, we had like 3 or 4 Thanksgiving dinners in one day, and you would just feel awful at the end of it because you just had 4 turkey dinners and then have to drive back. But I mean, it's like,
try not to fall asleep.
Try not to fall asleep. But, it's just a fact that you can get together. I think the whole giving thanks thing, it's the same thing as Valentine's Day. It's the same thing as Christmas for a lot of people. It's the same thing as Memorial Day, Labor Day. The list goes on. It's a day on the calendar that, with this one, has some historical background that has been, not want to say dumbed down, but has been kind of transitioned into more of just a secular, which it wasn't, I guess, religious, but more of an everyday type of holiday.
Yeah.
You're off work, you take days off around it, you get together with people, you get together with family you don't like and all that stuff. Well, I still think you should be fucking thankful for being able to see those people, because that's what I think the holiday is really about, is getting together with people that you're close to, whether or not you like them as much. Worst case scenario, you got to get together with them a couple times a year. That's it, right?
You can bring a bottle of whiskey with you.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. And to be honest with you, I was the Valentine's episode was my first episode being on, and I really enjoyed that episode. And I was one of those that I hated. I don't want to say I hated Valentine's Day, but I didn't like the holiday. I didn't. I looked at it as a Hallmark holiday and things like that, but. After the conversation and hearing, Steve, your point, and, some of the points of others, it gave me a better appreciation for it. And I think this is fairly along the same lines. I have to work all day tomorrow, open and close, but, that's not the end of the world. My family knows and understands that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they know, and, I know that I'm, eternally thankful for them and having them in my life, and the friends that I have around me, you guys and Nate and anyone else out there that I've met over the years. That I'm really thankful to have all of those people in my life. So, and it's I'll tell everyone that any day of the week, but this is one of those times where it allows you to take a step back, and really kind of see in a bigger picture.
Yeah.
You know, where you are. You know, just like you said, you know, New Year's, like, oh, it's a new me, it's a new start. Yeah, it's true. At the same time, it gives you that opportunity to take a step back and you reminisce over that last year. You know, coming up on New Year's, you know, you look back at 2018. What did my 2018 look like? You know, you start kind of doing, you know, the replay in your head. And, you know, you look back at all these major events or, you know, outings or gatherings or, you know, things that might have happened to you or loved ones or close friends or, you know, anything like that. And, you know, that next day it's a brand new year. It's a new start. It's a new year. And that's where I think that comes into play. Now, some people take it completely out of proportion. They're like, oh, fuck 2018, that was shit. The 2019's a new year, new me, new this, new that, and you give it 4 months and they've back on the same thing they were.
Well, that's why I brought it up, because it's kind of like, I mean, that's the joke, especially in like the fitness community, where it's kind of like, you know, I've done I didn't do what I said I was going to do last year, so this is you know, it's a new year, so it's going to be a new me. And that's not just a saying, like that. People actually do believe that, and I respect that. I do respect it, but the few, you know, the few out there, I won't say the majority, but you know, the few out there that do that, and it does seem like a lot of people that actually do that. It makes it worse, and it makes it a joke for the people that actually make it a great holiday. And it's much like Thanksgiving, and that's what I was trying to provoke. Is that conversation about that, because when, you know, Thanksgiving, let's not forget that it was a day, you know, we talk about history, like it was a day to give thanks to the harvest. That's why they ate.
Yeah.
So, you know, we turned it in to a family day, much as we've done with most holidays, and that is great. That is amazing. But when you actually think about like the actual purpose of why the holiday was created, you know, it was to give thanks to the harvest, and that, you know,
which brought people together, though.
Yeah, which brought people together. It's just you know, I just brought that up to like provoke you guys pretty much, because
I think this holiday is, you know, the one that was all about bringing people together to celebrate the harvest. You know, to celebrate that. I think this was kind of one of those first gatherings, in a sense. You know, there's tons of them out there, but I think this is the one that really pushes that whole get together.
It's like the Last Supper that's continuous.
Yeah. Especially when you have 4 houses to go to and you've had turkey at each place and fighting from one place to the other not to fall asleep, you go into a food coma.
Or you do what we do, we eat at 2 o'clock and we eat at 7 o'clock.
There you go.
We have 2 meals.
Same meal?
Yeah, it's the same shit.
You have late lunch and then you have leftovers, and at that point it's
exactly. And there's
sandwiches.
Still, knowing my grandma, there's still leftovers.
Oh, God.
Amazing.
My family, I mean, you've seen when I've made food. I don't understand small portions.
Oh, no.
There's always leftovers.
That's the difference between you and I and Steve.
What's that?
I don't think, I think Dustin and I don't understand the small portion. I think you understand portion control.
Not on holidays. Every day of my life, typically I try to.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, I try to.
All your thing.
I try to, but then I don't understand the recipe and accidentally, quote unquote, double it.
You understand portions when you realize, you look in the mirror, you're like, oh shit. Yeah, I didn't used to be this big.
Or I double it, and then all of a sudden you guys get a text, hey, I made food.
Yeah.
As in I made more than I could ever eat in a week.
Yeah, right. Every time we go over to Dustin's, it's like a mini Thanksgiving. No shit. Every time Alicia and I go over there, it's that's what it is. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's great.
I mean, getting back to the whole topic of giving thanks, I mean, like you said, Dustin, about, just normal, polite manners, just thank you, stuff like that. I think it's a little deeper than that, but that's a very good, I guess, everyday type of thing. I mean, it's something about, appreciating the gift of life, and not to get too deep, but just in general, just the fact that you have these opportunities in your life. Whether, Jacob I think, kind of flirted with the topic of the fact that when things are going bad and all that stuff, we talk about that a lot on this show, but I mean, overall, I think this is an opportunity. Hopefully you have something good in your life where you can actually appreciate it. Take a moment. So for those of us that are working a lot this weekend, or, Dustin's open to close tomorrow, someone mentioned, Nate said something about be thankful today and tomorrow trample someone for a TV. I mean, that's where the negative. No, it's funny, but I think that's the negativity of a lot of these types of holidays is that it turns into obviously a business. I mean, that's where Christmas. I mean, there's Christmas music that's been going on for 2 weeks already.
As soon as Halloween ended, it's like everybody fucking forgot about Thanksgiving. It was immediately Christmas.
Which 6 o'clock in the morning on Friday.
Honestly, I don't give a fuck though, because it's like if it puts people in a better mood. The problem is, I think more often than not, that there's a lot of people that are like, goddamn Christmas music already, as opposed to the few people that are actually in a good mood.
No,
it's funny though, because I find that a lot of times
tree up.
That's fine. I just think that a lot of times people that are really, and it might offend some people, that are really happy about Christmas music are miserable for about 10 months out of the year.
Yeah, it's sad.
It's sad.
It's sad.
When Christmas is over, you put the tree away, but it stays up until like January 15th. And it's like, you gotta let it go, man.
No, see, I'll never turn down a Christmas movie any time of year or Christmas music. But man, when, like, there's just something about me that, like, wants to yell when I see when I see a Christmas tree up, like before Thanksgiving, because it's like especially if you're having like a get together at your house for Thanksgiving. I mean, that's like one of the decorations, but like that's part of the gig, and it's like you got a Christmas tree up, like
But let me challenge you this: what if it's a Christmas tree, but you have turkey ornaments and orange lights on it?
That's stupid.
No,
that's dumb.
No, it's a yearly tree.
Take yours down.
Now you're just making fun of
Take
it.
yours down.
Now you're just making fun.
That's just a pine tree.
Don't be hating on my Christmas tree. It's a fucking Charlie Brown tree.
Just a pine tree.
One little bulb.
Take it down.
No, I mean that's what I think. That's all.
Nate says for every Christmas tree up before Thanksgiving, an elf dies. That might be true. I
That's
can't
true.
back that up.
Can you do statistics on that? Can we?
No,
do
he just
statistics?
did. He put it out there.
I'll see him this weekend.
Yeah.
It's not real.
That's all the little kids I see this weekend.
That's fine.
Well,
It's better they learn now.
I know Bobby
I'm gonna be
Crow.
honest.
Bobby Crow asked us like, "What are we thankful for?" You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a big.
Bobby Crow with
Oh.
and I love you, Bobby. That's the first, I think, legitimate question you've had in
That he's
42
contributed to the
episodes.
podcast.
He hasn't
Besides
been on
when he was
in the
on.
last like 20 minutes.
Aside when he was on.
Love you. That's a great question. But
I think for me,
thankful that you gave a good question, Bobby.
that's awesome.
Love you, man.
I
Can't
think,
wait for that comment to come through.
yeah, and I think for me the reason why I brought up that, you know, the provoking statement where it's like most people, I think people look at Thanksgiving as New Year's, where it's like they don't pay attention to it until that holiday is there. I think it gives them a reason to, you know what I mean? And the reason why I did that is because I'm speaking from my own self, where I do that, and it kind of irritates me.
You do what? You
where
don't give thanks, or you have New Year's resolutions?
I feel like I'm polite. I feel like I give thanks, but I feel like it's when I get to Thanksgiving, that's when I, you know, text people that I haven't texted in a long time. I've called people that I haven't seen in years and stuff, and say, you know, happy Thanksgiving. And I know, especially for me, a lot of others do that to me. It's like, I haven't talked to you in, you know, 3-4 years. And
It slows down as you get older, let me tell you.
yeah. And
Most of them are like high school and college friends, aren't they?
yeah.
Yeah. I went through that too.
And I'm sure it's the same way for everyone, but it's just, it's interesting. And I guess just for me in my heart, like I kind of feel bad, and always it's kind of a reset button where it's like, you know, I should be, you know, texting people when I'm thinking about them at that moment. It's like, hell, what's a 30-second, you know, time out of my day where I'm like, hey, I'm thinking of you. There's no attachments. There's nothing to go about it. You know, I'm just saying like, hey, how are you doing? Well, it's not like that. But see, that's what ruins it. That's what ruins it. But I'm being serious, where it's like,
I get it.
you know, you think of somebody and you're like, what's 30 seconds out of your day to say, hey, you know, there's nothing weird or nothing wrong with this. I'm just thinking of you. How are you doing? You know, like
That's the importance of the holiday and other holidays. That's what, you know, birthdays.
right.
You know what I mean? It's like, you know, yeah, it's the day that you were born. Fantastic. But you hear from people on Facebook, you know, the only other thing good on Facebook other than having, you know, Bourbon and BS podcast live every Wednesday
Politics.
is the birthdays. Is that you remember people's birthdays
That's a
more
joke.
often. I know. I know it was. But it's I think that's the importance of the holidays, because it does either snap you to it, but it's a time for life gets in the way all the time for things like that. What's 30 seconds, right? Say you have 200 friends, 30 seconds to text once a week, once every other week. It's going to take up a lot of your day. It's distracting.
Yeah, but you're not thinking of those 200 friends every week. You know what I mean? Like that's what I mean.
My point is though is that that's the importance of that holiday, is that you start thinking about things. You know, there's a lot of people out there, and I've been one to be that way in the past, not as much anymore. That the holidays kind of, you know, you get sentimental, you get emotional. You know what I mean? Because you think about past traditions. You think about people.
I definitely do.
You know, friends, romantic relationships of the past, where you know you had that great Thanksgiving at so-and-so's house or their parents' house or whatever it is, where you were dating this girl or whatever, and it's like one of those things where it's like it brings up a lot of memories, because you know we talk about smells being like the strongest sense when it comes to recollection and memories. You know, we hear that all the time with like the pipe tobacco. This reminds me of my uncle, my grandfather, my dad, and I think that's a lot of times when you have that traditional Thanksgiving meal where you have that turkey for the most part. A lot of people, you know, turkey, you know, stuffing, mashed potatoes, you have the, you know, au gratin potatoes, you have all these starches and everything else, and you have football on the TV, you have that tree that's up too early, whatever it might be, in that house you used to go to, but you remember all of these things, and it's something that just, I think, is a flood of emotion and thoughts of past, that it does serve a purpose, to your point, Jake, where you don't necessarily do it every day or every week or every month. But when this happens, I mean, it's like, I don't think, and I know you're not bitter, but I think there is that sense of some that would say that, well, I don't hear from you all year round, and then you say Happy Thanksgiving, like, I'm surprised you don't have my number anymore. It's like,
I would.
And there are people that do it to make themselves feel better, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with that.
I would never say that to someone that like reached out. I'm just saying, I'm trying to get the point across, and to be very blunt, and to be kind of actually overzealous with the point, because I think that will get through to some people. I think that, you know, when you're talking about it, I think we can talk our heads off, but the importance of this holiday, and like there's reasons why we should do things in our lives, and most of us don't pay attention to it when it's actually happening to us. Yeah. You know what I mean, and that's very, very broad, but what I mean is the exact example is when you're thinking of somebody, you should, you know, either thank them for being in your life or had been in your life. Yeah. And then, you know, just be, you know, thinking of them, you know what I mean? And that's what I've tried to do within this last year, because these were my exact thoughts last Thanksgiving, where it's like, why am I not, you know, texting these people when I'm thinking of them or calling them? You know what I mean?
In like March or June or...
Yeah, just whenever. I mean, that's Thanksgiving. Yeah, that's my only thing.
But like I get, you know, every once in a while, well, at least I used to get, you know, a bunch of texts around Thanksgiving or, you know, whatever it is. So, you know, people blowing it up saying, oh, Happy Thanksgiving, hope all's well, and I'm looking at like most of these, like, I've not heard from you in 5 years.
That's what you're thinking.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Are you going to say that to him?
No, I'm not going to say that, but that's what I'm thinking. Like, part of me is like, you waited till today to say something, or like initiate a conversation in sorts. Maybe they're not.
These like X's?
Huh?
Are these like X's?
No. For me, yes, sometimes.
There it is.
Yeah, for me, it's not. It's...
The restraining order won't allow.
I'm sorry for laughing. Shit. Bring it back to smells, just like a side note. Don't you, like, I don't know if anybody else...
Smells like shame.
No, if anybody else has had this...
regret.
Have you ever had that experience with, like...
With hints of remorse. No, there's no remorse.
You smell like someone that, like, you walk by, and it's like the
crop dust?
No, like you. It's like the perfume about like the X's and stuff, and like
do you
just
walk up and sniff people's hair as they walk by?
No, you've never. You guys want to fuck with me right now, and you want to like make fun of me, but it's like that's never happened.
Actually,
when you've walked by someone, and you've got a whiff of like perfume,
I get what you're saying, no, I haven't.
And everything comes back. I just want like I think that's crazy. Like going back to like the
not
sensory.
like walking by a stranger
Yeah.
or anything like that, but you stumble across something, especially if it's a more recent breakup, you stumble across something that might have been theirs, and not just visual, but like maybe it's something they left behind, a perfume or a lotion or something, and you get that smell and you're like, ah, shit.
Where's this podcast going?
But anywho,
I think that's meaningful.
It is.
yeah, it makes you want to throw it in the trash, usually.
It's a part of your life, man.
Yeah.
It made you who you are today.
This is true.
You're giving thanks
There
to
is.
bad and good experiences.
Good.
Yeah.
Bingo.
So
No, I
going
think-
back to your exes, they were texting
They're-
on Thanksgiving.
They weren't in Texas. We're texting me. But
I
you
see
know,
what
you
you
get.
did there.
But no, like a lot of them would in my head I'm raising questions as far as why is this person texting me today? Besides the fact that it's Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're kind of part of it might be they're actually thankful, but some of it might also be it's just a mass text. Hey, happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Yeah.
But for me, if I'll send out some texts to people, but the ones that I send it out to are the ones that I actually talk to, are the ones that are closest to me. They're the ones that I want them to know that hey,
Yeah.
happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for you being a part of my life today and any day moving forward and past.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of those things, and I think another point that we've not really talked about, and we talk about a little bit, every episode is, we say thanks to all of our sponsors every week.
Yeah.
But this is episode 42, and I personally would like to thank all of the guests that's been on over those 42 episodes. Nate's been on, quite a handful of times.
3.
Bobby Crow's been on.
5.
Dude, you were
Sometimes.
Dustin. You were on for like the first at least
Half
what did you
of
say
it
20?
or so.
20 or so, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not just about me. It's Mike last week. Having Phil on and everyone else who's been a part of it. Brad's
It's all
been
about
on
the
some
support.
times.
Yeah, it's all
It
about
is,
the support,
but
yeah.
and that's we thank each and every one of the not the guests, but even the people who are listening and watching, the loyal listeners. People who share it. I think that's something that we didn't really allude to a lot of, but I think this is a perfect time, more than any, to really push that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, guests.
Well, I mean, that's where it goes. I guess, we're dancing around the whole thing about, what Jake's saying, what Dustin's saying. I mean, I think you do actually need to give yourself more credit that you are more thankful than you realize. Especially guys like you, know what I mean? Like we do say thank you a lot. We do say thank you to us, like on this podcast. Thank you to the supporters. Thank you for liking things, sharing. Thank you for being on. It's like, but you almost take that for granted more than you just take for granted not saying thankful, or you're not thankful. You know what I mean? I think it's something where, again, I think it brings a lot of focus onto people that you're thankful for, experiences you're thankful for. I think that's the whole point of it. I mean, I wasn't disagreeing with you necessarily, Jake. It's these kind of holidays that bring it back to the forefront so that you can actually recenter and kind of do that. I mean, I'm thinking of this when Dustin's talking about, the Happy Thanksgiving text messages. There's a couple points on that. This birthday, this is the new age where I'm going to go new school and old school, where the new age is, I had whatever over, 100 or some, happy birthday wishes on Facebook, because it pops up on everyone's feed, right? So I get, people I haven't talked to in a long time, people I saw that morning or yesterday. And it's something that this year I went through, instead of just saying, thanks to everyone for their birthday wishes. I don't think I missed anyone that day or the following, where I actually, at the very least, clicked on that message and said, thank you, brother, or, thanks so much, or whatever, very brief messages, but I went through and actually did that. And I wanted to, I guess, express to people that I know and I don't know as well anymore, that at least I saw it, and it was maybe, and it wasn't for me, it was a sense of well-being, but it's something like that. It's that thankfulness year-round, where it's just, everyone I click on, I at least acknowledge that you personally did that. I didn't write this whole long note and say, thank you very much. I remember our times together, previous years, blah, blah, blah.
Hey, remember that time when?
That perfume you used to wear. But it's something that the old school thing of what you're kind of talking about, Dustin, I think, with Happy Thanksgiving is the Christmas cards is what I grew up on. And we haven't gotten to that holiday yet. We'll probably, touch base there. It's just, when people, my generation as much, doesn't do Christmas cards. Your guys' generation, as you get down to the millennials, I think there'll be a resurgence of some sort, you know what I mean? But I don't think that the Christmas card tradition has carried on.
Oh, I disagree.
No, I think the Christmas, you can disagree all you want. I think first of all, most people don't write letters anymore.
True.
So it's like a Christmas. It's like thank you letters. You get something, and there aren't as many people, in my opinion, that write thank you notes. They write thank you emails or thank you text messages now. Christmas cards, much the same, or holiday cards, end of the year, where you get this whole summary of the year, and it's a mass-produced letter or whatever, and then you have your labels out, and you actually go through and you print them off, or you handwrite Christmas cards, and you stuff the envelopes, put the stamps on, send them out in the mail. You want to make sure they get there, right at the very latest New Year's. It just doesn't happen anymore as much.
I'd say for the majority, yeah.
I think the vast majority.
I agree with that.
I think that Happy Thanksgiving, because you're thinking about me, is something that has translated to this day and age because of technology.
Yeah.
There was a time where, and it doesn't do it as much anymore, where like these holidays, when you are trying to do something, there was that e-card thing when that was, the internet was really starting to boom, if you will, and it was like now you can do an e-card and personalize it and send an email, and you click on it, it opens it up, it's a cute little card, but my sister-in-law's birthday is Friday, so we're celebrating tomorrow, and I'm not big on picking out gifts and way ahead of time unless there's something that someone really wants. Christmas I try to do it. I hated gift cards in the past, but when you're in your 30s, 40s, it's something that is definitely more practical. So I made sure
it's a little difficult to find that gift.
I made sure to hit the liquor department. I made sure to hit the Hallmark section in Kroger and get a card. At the very least.
One-stop shop.
Kroger is a very fine establishment in the Columbus area.
Fuel points, 4 times fuel points right now, bud.
I don't do fuel points, sorry.
Really? I do.
Grocery shop. Liquor doesn't count towards fuel points.
No, gift
true.
cards do.
Which is stupid. You should get on that, Dustin.
Yeah.
I've been trying. If that was the case, I'd have a lot
of free tanks of gas.
Right?
I think when we're talking about giving thanks, I think it's just interesting to what I like seeing. It's much like the whiskey and the stout that we had this evening. It's much like the cigars. It's about I enjoy listening to other people's perspectives. That's what I like about this podcast, and that's what I like about this subject. Where we're talking about we could talk about for 4 hours on the way that Steve's Thanksgiving goes, the way Dustin's Thanksgiving goes, the way my Thanksgiving goes, but it all centralizes around our families and the people that we have that are close to us, and we're sitting down and eating. And I think that's what is that's what we've kept throughout the centuries. Really is the fact that we're still including that aspect of eating, even though that a lot of us aren't farmers anymore, and but we're still eating, we're still enjoying, we're giving thanks to, the turkey's life that, gave us the food that day, and the ham and everything that.
Do you give thanks to each stalk of corn?
No, I'm just saying, that's so you're being Steve right now, and that's what
I resemble that Mark.
what I mean is it's just one of those. I'm not meaning to get super serious, but it's when you take it down to that level.
Get there.
When you're taking down to that level, that's one of those things where that is the history of it. You gave thanks for this, and I think it's important to understand that.
I think that's my point, though, is that's what the importance of a lot of these holidays. It is a remembrance. It is a recentering. It's something that you actually are getting some sort of purpose to do that. It's almost like forcing you, like religion. A lot of times, there's a day that you worship. You know, especially like Christianity. You know, Sunday is the day that you go to church. A lot of times, I mean, that's one of those things. Is like you can go every day, or you go on Sundays where they hold. You know, it's because that's what happens in life. Is that you actually have to go work. You have to, you know, support your family. You have to do chores. You have to do these other things. And you also have to enjoy yourself, or you don't have to, but you choose to. So, I mean, there's other things that get in the way. This is a time set on the calendar that hopefully, even if you're by yourself, you know, hopefully you can find other people that are maybe by themselves, or you can join another family or a group of friends for Friendsgiving, whatever it might be. You can have that reason to do it, and to give you that kind of, you know, even though like you were saying with New Year's as a comparison, that's the motivation that some need.
Yeah.
There's motivation. There's a reason to do it. Take all the holidays off of the calendar, then it's like it's up to you. Yeah. And I bet you there's going to be a lot more circumstances where people don't you know, celebrate these types of things.
We talked about that with Valentine's Day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's very, very comparable.
Yeah. It's very valid. I know for my family. So for Thanksgiving, it's it might sound bad, but
you might.
No, go ahead. My family celebrates Thanksgiving. What they've done recently is they'll either go to you know, my grandparents on my dad's side, or they've been going to my aunt's house, which, you know, she lives in Dresden, which is about 20 minutes north of Zanesville.
Okay.
When are you gonna be there?
When?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Because that's where my grandmother lives.
Yeah.
Like Nashport, Dresden area.
Yeah, they're there right now. They just finished building a house a few years ago.
Shit.
And so they kind of go, they're starting kind of a new tradition, new routine with that piece. But last year, the year before, this year, you know, I work on Thanksgiving. And the way I do it is, you know, I will work open to close, which we close at 5 p.m. No, that's not too bad. You can still, you know, hit a dinner time depending on where your family is.
Yeah.
For me, they're an hour either east or west. But it's, you know, 6 o'clock by the time I get out of the store. But my family's understanding of that, and while I've not actually gone to a Thanksgiving dinner in a few years, probably.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Just like,
yeah.
I mean,
like the last time it was, you know,
dedication, man.
Well, the last one I went to was probably two or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
When
did they save you some food?
Yeah. When I was, you know, it was with my ex, but, you know, I went out to her mom's, and it was kind of one of those, did Thanksgiving there and then Christmas at my parents' house. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Christmas has kind of been more of a gathering and kind of thankful time as far as, you know, with my family. And part of it is because, you know, it'll be different now because my dad's an actual minister and has his own church, but, you know, the whole religious aspect of it.
Oh, it says you can come to his house.
Oh, thanks, Dylan. I appreciate it, brother.
Awesome.
It's a nice
yeah, very, very kind gesture.
Nice gesture.
But, you know, for us, so it's turned into a big thing, and for there, and my grandparents go over there. It used to be we do Christmas Eve at my grandparents, and, you know, this and the other, and it's kind of transformed. And I think that's one of those things, you know, we talk about this over the years. Those holidays transform as far as what you do, where you go, you know, how you celebrate. You know, people come and go.
Oh, it changes.
And it changes, but the fact of the matter is, you know, you're giving thanks. Whether it is Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's or, you know, Easter, whatever, you know, 4th of July, whatever it might be, that you're taking that time to take a step back. Yeah. And really, really give thanks and reminisce on the times that you had.
All right, so we keep saying give thanks. What does that mean to you guys?
For me?
Yeah, giving thanks.
Giving thanks.
Know, like saying like thank you or
giving thanks.
What are you
to
doing?
Me is it can be a simple thank you, but for me there's more behind it. You know, when I tell someone thank you, you know, I really try to say it with.
I mean, for the holidays.
For the holidays, it's showing appreciation.
In what way?
Just
trying to dial it down. You know,
yeah.
Make it more practical.
more practical is, you know.
Because I'm gonna learn something from it. I think, honestly.
Yeah,
so
for
I'm thinking,
me,
I'm hearing this. You know, give thanks. That's our whole thing. Giving thanks.
Yeah, giving thanks.
Like, what are you giving actually? What are you actually doing? And what's the action of that?
The action of that for me is just simply enjoying the time. You know, you're creating those memories. You know, you're taking and making the appreciation of the time with your friends and your family. And I think that's one of those things with Thanksgiving, like we talked about Valentine's Day, is, you know, it's that point on the calendar where you really can appreciate what it is that you have. And it might not be an actual action. A lot of times I think for me, giving thanks is just the thoughts.
Yeah.
It's the thoughts of, you know, showing, you know, I don't want to say showing appreciation, but having that appreciation for the people that are in your life.
But it is showing appreciation.
Yeah, it is. And while it might be in your mind and that simple, you know, hey man, you know, happy Thanksgiving. I hope it's a great one for you. You know, just, you know, thinking about you. I appreciate, you know, you being a part of my life. You know, that's...
So what you were saying about some of those text messages, though, too, right?
Exactly, and that's where, you know, sometimes...
So it's an action.
It's an action in that piece. And, you know, the older we get, that piece dials back as far as, you know, people reaching out. I think it's still a good thing to do. You know, if it's, you know, someone that you might not have talked to in, you know, 3 days, 3 months, 3 years, you know, just reaching back out, you know, saying, hey, you know, how's things going? You know, I hope you're having a great holiday, great Thanksgiving, you know, what all did you do? You just kind of use that time as a recap, kind of, or a reconnect.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
To that point, when you ask that question, Steve, I think giving thanks is just giving people your time, because that's no matter what people want to discuss or argue about, like, time is the most valuable thing that we can give.
Absolutely.
Because that will soon run out. As you know, as much as we want to deny that or whatever. And I think that's what we give to people I think that's the most important thing that we can give to people. And that's the way I look at Thanksgiving and really any holiday. And I like what you said, Dustin, about like how Christmas has kind of turned into, you know, that time giving thing where it's more of a family gathering than actually Thanksgiving is.
Yeah.
And I think in our society, I think Christmas is actually looked as a bigger holiday than Thanksgiving.
I agree.
And I think more family members come out of the woodworks that you haven't seen in a while, and I think more family members get together than they do for Thanksgiving.
Why do you think it is?
I think it's, I don't know why, honestly. I can't,
because of the gifts?
Maybe, honestly.
And
materialistic. That's an entirely different subject.
No, but I think it's related. I think it's very related.
Yeah, I think the presence, though, I think that is
motivator.
A motivator for that. It's kind of like my uncle coming up from Florida. You know, he's coming up for Thanksgiving this week, and he's with my grandma all week.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen my cousins Sarah and CJ in a while.
Okay.
And I mean, they're like 16 and 18, and it's like I haven't seen them in forever. And it's like, holy shit! Like I see pictures of them over Facebook. It's like I'm 23, and it's like, how did you get so big? And I'm saying that to them, you know what I mean? And they're only 5 years. You know, Sarah's only 5 years younger than I am, and it's like, how did you get so big? But it's like when I was little, is like you were born. So it's like I remember that. But anyways, what I'm saying is, here's. My mom said, and I thought it was interesting, is that my cousins and my uncle and my aunt, they have been up like the last, I think they were up 2 years ago, and they were up a year before that. So they've been up, but it's a bigger deal for them to be up during the week of Thanksgiving. Yeah. And I think that's a interesting point to bring up, because it's kind of like, you know, again, playing the other side, where I just talked about that we should be doing this like year round, and then, you know, my uncle and, you know, my cousins and my aunt come up for Thanksgiving, and it's like automatically like the biggest deal ever. And that was like my first question to my mom, is like, I understand that it's Thanksgiving, but like, she was like, yeah, they haven't been up in like so long, and I'm like,
people a reason.
I'm like, but yeah, they were up like a year and a half, like 2 years ago, and it wasn't Thanksgiving, and we didn't really act like it was a a massive deal. It was still a big deal because they lived down in Florida.
Okay.
And we're in Ohio, but it's like for Thanksgiving, it's like it's a big deal.
I guess
and
that's
it's
why
kind
I
of
asked that.
it's just interesting to me as we're saying that, that.
That's why I asked the question. You know what I mean? Because I'm listening.
I
to
can't
the conversation.
pinpoint it.
But you guys did, because you actually said very similar responses to what you were saying, in a sense, not necessarily negatives, but it was like one of those things where it's like, why is it only the holiday and all that stuff? And that's where you guys are mentioning all these things. I'm listening to it, so in my mind, as I'm listening to the conversation and hearing you guys speak, I'm seeing some of the comments come through on Facebook Live. You guys have already answered my question when you say, what are you doing to give thanks?
Well, I know
what is the action? So
Well,
that's my whole thing, is that you already said, Dustin, you said the exact same response to like that whole text message you're hearing from people and all that stuff. You don't get it and all that stuff. It's like, you're thinking in your mind, it's like, but when I ask you, like, what's the action of actually giving thanks? It's actually like spending time and telling someone happy Thanksgiving. So I'm not saying, like, it's almost like I'm trying to bring it back to the whole table and everyone listening out there, is that may be the actual action that you're able to do.
Even if you can't explain.
But you guys did explain. That's what I'm saying. So like when family comes to visit on a holiday, Thanksgiving or otherwise, that's they're showing that. They're showing that appreciation. And Jake said it very well, is that the greatest gift that you can have, to someone to give is your time. And I think that's a big part of it. I'm of the opinion that is a big part of the current holidays. And Thanksgiving is a prime example. To the quick response of why is Christmas a bigger family gathering, why is it a bigger deal, we already talked about that as well. There's Christmas music playing on November 1st. First of all, it's a marketed holiday. It's got some religious background.
Heavily marketed.
Well, it's a religious background. The reason you give gifts, from my understanding, is because the 3 wise men brought gifts to baby Jesus. That then translated to Santa Claus. That then translated to Macy's and Nordstrom and now Amazon. I mean,
Don't forget Lazarus, man. That was a big.
They're not around anymore.
I never.
That's Macy's. I already said it.
Elder Beer.
I never got to experience that, but from what my parents said, that was like an amazing time where they would go down to downtown Columbus.
Yeah.
Go down to Lazarus and see. It was kind of like the scene of the Christmas Story.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like they've had their front window.
I was Joseph in it too.
Lazarus.
It's something that
Lazarus is Macy's.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Macy's bought it all out. We had a Lazarus in Westeros growing up. It was like a small town department store. Before like the big mall. We had some big malls, but even around here, but Westfield, like we had our own AMC six theaters. You know what I mean? Yeah. That was the suburb. At some point, then you had a Lazarus. Now it's a Walmart now, but that's just
The last Lazarus I know of is completely off topic, but the last Lazarus I knew of was down in Newark, and then that like tanked. That was when did you guys ever go down to Newark when like Stephen Barry's was there?
No.
That was like
but I remember there's one of those in Springfield, Ohio too.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was a Lazarus at one point.
They're just interesting stories.
Oxford, where I went to school back in 1998, 2002, there was a Lazarus. I went back about I think it was like 10 years later or whatever, for homecoming, and it's now a bar. It's a killer bar. I mean, there's a lot of open space there in a department store.
I would say.
Well, small town, Oxford's very tiny.
Yeah, it's not very big at all.
Like very open areas, where there used to be like clothes racks, now there's tables.
Imagine if a Macy's closed and it was a bar.
Oh god.
How big? Imagine if the Macy's in Easton closed.
You'd have to put it in like a hotel.
Whiskey bar with a bed and breakfast.
Yeah, you'd have enough room to age beers for years.
Yeah. Going back to it, I think, giving thanks to you guys and everyone else, myself included, is absolutely the time that you're spending with others. There's ways you can go beyond that and, give thanks and work with, charities, donate clothes, and all these things that you should do all year round. But whatever the significance is, there is a purpose to the holiday. And I agree, I'm not disagreeing with the point that you should do this to some extent all year round, whether it's saying thank you, whether it's doing nice things for other people, but most importantly, trying to find time to spend with others. And that's what, sorry Dustin, that's what we always go back to with this podcast, and where it came from, is that we spend time with people that we truly care about and want to help grow. And if someone is having a rough holiday, a rough day, whatever it might be, rough week, rough year, that's where you actually are doing something with your time to make it better for you and them and grow from it.
And that's a quote that Nate Hale commented, the greatest thing you can spend on your kids is time. And that's by George Orwell. And I think that you can elaborate on that even more. And, the greatest thing you can spend on not just your kids, but your friends and your family themselves is time. And I feel like in today's world, it's so fast-paced. Everyone's like, I don't have time. You have to make time. Because that's going to be the greatest thing that you spend anything on, and it could be $0 cost-wise.
Yeah.
But that's the last thing that anyone is willing to give up on is time.
I think that's where, the time thing and being your friends and your family, I think that's when it comes into play where it's whether you're thinking of them or not. Because I think for the most part, I think we, if we care about people, we're going to think about them from time to time.
Yeah,
from time to time. And not thinking about someone doesn't mean you don't care about them.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I mean. Where there's a reason. That's a very good point. But there's a reason why we're thinking of them, and I think we should appreciate why we're thinking of them.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean,
and that's all that I'll leave on the table for that.
No, I think again, I first of all, I guess this is a good point to do a little filler here. We're smoking the Monte Cristo Monty by AJ. This is from Altadis USA. Thank you guys. I love this smoke. I gotta be honest, like you guys, I'll hold it up. I'm not talking bad about it, but I talked about it earlier. This is what's left of, if you're watching on video, YouTube or Facebook, whatever. That's what's left of my Ambos or
Did you just want to get to the Monty?
No, the Rey del Mundo. It wasn't drawing. The construction on mine wasn't very good. I tried to draw poking it with your multi-tool.
Yeah, I saw that.
Couldn't do it. So I mean, that's real quick. It's something that with cigars, don't make your judgment off of one cigar because it's a hand-rolled product, handmade product. There's a lot of things that go into effect there. So mine did smoke well. These two guys at the table are smoking it, and they burned through it no problem. They're on their nubs there, and they moved on after that.
Look how far I got, Steve. Look at that.
I know, it's great. So, Altadis, thank you very much for the Monte Cristo. There's giving thanks right there. Is giving.
Huge.
I think that's another thing, when you're giving thanks, what can you do? What is the actual action? Is showing that person support. And that goes with time. It goes with, like something like a sponsor. You're in a business venture. You're in, a relationship, whatever. When you're actually giving thanks, it's more of, in my opinion, what you're actually giving is, it's not only time, but actually action, actually support, actually, credit where credit's due. I think that's giving thanks, is somehow showing that person or that company, whatever the circumstances, is you're actually showing them support in an action or in a gift or whatever it is. So giving thanks, that's what, I look at my family and that's a big part of it. I'm invited. Being on my own more or less right now is, it's got my brother's family. I've got my mom still with us, doing well, and my sister-in-law's parents. So my brother's in-laws they live in town. They want to host a holiday because they're invited to all the other holidays. They're invited to all the birthdays. They're part of the family, through marriage, and so it's like they want to host, and I get an email from Donna, who is my sister-in-law's mom. And she's just like, hey, I just want to let you know, Thanksgiving's going to be at our place. I already knew that. But it's, at dinner's at 4, try to show up at 3 or so, and no need to bring anything.
Yeah.
It's literally like they just want me to be a part of it, want me to be included. And then it's her way of giving thanks and being a part of this family is they want to host, and they want to do the turkey. They want to do this because they've had a family tradition for a long time. And that's a big part of it, is being with people you care about.
That's how my family is, especially around Christmas. When we had my best friend Cigar.
Yeah, you talked about that.
We talked about there. He was, I invited him to Christmas because he wasn't going to be doing anything, and anyone else who's come is, they always ask me, well, what should I bring? What should I bring? I'm like, don't bring anything. You don't need to.
Yeah.
Because trust me, there's going to be plenty of food, and even if I ask my dad,
your family.
Well, my dad.
Knowing you, not your family.
My dad does all the cooking for the holidays and so on. And I'll even ask him, like, what do you want me to bring? He goes, you don't need to bring anything. I'm like, no, but really, what should I bring? He goes, really, you don't have to bring anything.
Sure.
Plenty of
Yeah.
food. But my personality is, I still want to contribute,
Sure.
to be a part of it, and let other people appreciate maybe a dish or something that I brought. But to your point, I did have one point when I lived in Athens. I had to work on Christmas, so I wasn't able to make it home for Thanksgiving.
Right.
I worked on Thanksgiving, not Christmas, and so I wasn't able to make it home. And a good family friend of my parents that my dad had met actually reached out to me and said, well, you can always come to my place. And I was like, okay.
Who said that?
So his name's Steve, and
like
Adela.
Right.
And him and my dad met while my dad was away for a couple years, and he lived right there in Athens. He's the one who sold me my car, and I kind of got to know him a little bit and talked to him a little bit, but I didn't know anyone else in his family. Never met his wife. Didn't know anyone else. But him being the person that he is said, hey, my home's open.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come have dinner with
That's
us.
important.
And something even as simple as that shows the appreciation of not just someone who's friends or family, but a friend of a friend, or a family of a friend, or even a stranger for that matter. It just goes to show other people showing thanks and showing that appreciation. I think that's another different form of giving.
Yeah, I think inclusion, right?
Yeah,
Inclusion,
absolutely. There's a lot of.
It's not a charity. It's not like feeling pity or anything like that. It's simply inclusion. It's all positive.
Mm-hmm. And another I guess way of an example of someone giving thanks. My store, not to throw in a Kroger hat, but my store actually has taken over a very large holiday order for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
It's about a $25,000 order.
Is that all?
Of Thanksgiving meals.
Nice.
It's about 400 to 600 meals, and it all goes towards homeless.
Yeah, that's great.
The whole thing, and that's and I think that we get stressed out at work of putting all this together, but at the end of the day, when you think about it, that's just someone else or another group or community or corporation coming together to help someone else or a group of people who might be struggling, just to kind of show appreciation and give that thanks. Something is, and I think that's where we get back to as far as what is giving thanks. It's simple. It's a simple thank you, and all the way up to something like that.
Yeah, I think an action is cool. Sorry, Jake.
Yeah,
one of the things I worked for a company for 12 years. It was interesting, because I always thought very highly of the organization. I still do. I think highly of the organization. There was a tradition, and I understand, from a business standpoint, you have to make some certain cuts or what have you, and all that stuff. And some things take more effort or not. And I don't know if they do it again. There was this tradition when I first started, when I was in college, and then came back, full time, worked on breaks and stuff like that. They would literally, for all of the frontline employees and the frontline sales staff, every Thanksgiving, they literally would just get a truckload of frozen turkeys. And at the end of your shift, you'd get the frozen turkey, and you'd be able to take it home and all that stuff. It was like days before Thanksgiving, and it was one of those things that it was a huge actual effort and effort of showing thanks, giving thanks to the employees, so that it's like, and don't make a ton of money or whatever it is, but even if you did, it was something like, you don't have to go buy a turkey. Or if you do have a huge family get together, like maybe you have to buy a smaller turkey, but like you actually get that. Then it went to like turkey vouchers. Because most of the time it's at Kroger or something like that. You guys get those all the time with companies. And then one year, when I was in management, I'm told that, hey, we're not doing turkeys this year. And it's something as simple as that you're just like, that is something where you go from actual frozen turkey, which was a bigger dramatic effort and show of appreciation, to now it's turkey vouchers. You're still taken care of. You have to go get the turkey. It's a little easier. It's not as much, messy legwork there. To a point where you actually take it away. Yeah. So the employees that have been there, and you take that away, it's something that I think is a big part we don't really talk about a whole lot is that when you take something away, or you stop showing things, when you stop getting those text messages, you guys get older, you might actually experience that. And I think as you get older, you don't have those family traditions. As things get taken away from your life experiences, especially around a holiday like Thanksgiving, you actually may feel a little left out or a little bit open at that point.
That's a great point, though, because it's like that's an even greater point to say thank you.
Yeah.
To be thankful for that, because
Yeah.
it's not a right. It's a thing of showmanship.
Yeah.
Or it's kind of like that classic scene in Christmas Vacation.
Nate just brought that up. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's like the classic scene in Christmas Vacation.
Christmas bonuses.
Yeah, Christmas bonuses.
You gotta put in a pool.
Yeah, and it's like when that thing doesn't happen, or
Well, I got the Jelly of the Month Club,
yeah,
which according to Cousin Eddie is the gift that keeps on giving club.
kiss my ass, kiss your ass.
Yeah, there you go.
Happy Hanukkah. No, but it's one of those things where it's like you truly think about, we talk about giving thanks, and it's like, do you really think about the things that you aren't just granted, the things that you aren't, you have a right to, like that?
Yeah.
I think that's a huge point that, you just brought up, Steve, where it's like, what are we not giving rights to during this holiday? Like, what do we actually think about that? I know I don't. I haven't thought about that until Steve just brought that up. So it's kind of like, if you haven't given a thought to, are you granted this as a right, or are you granted to this as a as a gift, or
Right.
or I don't know, but as a gift, and it's something special, and it should be, you should oblige to that, I think.
I agree completely.
And I think as we're heading towards our 2-hour mark, I think I've loved how crisp this podcast has been. At least that's my opinion. And it's we're at episode 42, and it's been awesome. And giving thanks. Thank you, Dustin, and thank you, Joel, for picking and bringing the Hoppy Frog, right? The Imperial Stout. Hoppin' Frog Imperial Stout, and the Knob Creek single barrel pick that's 120 proof. The Gazebo. And thank you, Steve, for bringing the turkey. And the Wild Turkey 101, and we're gonna enjoy the Wild Turkey 101 probably after this. But I think the most important part about our podcast tonight, and we'll talk about giving thanks. And thank you so much, for the people that are giving time to this. Like, that's what we've talked about.
Yeah.
Thank you for the listeners and the viewers that's given us time and effort and have joined this, I hope one day we can call it like a cult, because
it's a journey.
It's a journey with us, and it's a journey in how I know you'll see me grow astronomically, because I'm young and I'll learn more throughout. And
Wait, how old are you? I'm just kidding.
Well, no, I think, and you'll learn more about all of us individually throughout the podcast, and I think we're talking about giving thanks. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, so I think it's very, very important when you wake up tomorrow, and for our audio listeners, they're going to be after, and even if it's through the weekend, I think it's very, very important to understand, giving thanks, if it comes after Thanksgiving, to understand giving time, giving your effort. If you're listening to this, and after you get done listening to this, you think of somebody and a loved one that you haven't thought about in a long, long time, and you aren't going to see during this holiday or even Christmas, you need to text them, call them, and understand, and let them know how much you care about them. Give them thanks. Give them thanks to think of any memory that you have ingrained in your mind about how they've helped you or how you've helped them. Stuff like that. Yeah, and saying thank you for that experience, and saying thank you for allowing them to be in your life, and all of that, and giving the action of giving the pure action of saying thank you, and allowing them to know how you feel, and allowing yourself to be vulnerable about that. and showing the true effort that involves in that entire task of, you know, communication and communicating with people that you don't normally do, that you think of all, you know, not all the time, but that you think of as soon as you're done listening to this, and try to be more thankful throughout the year.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I hinted on that, well, I didn't hit on it, but I made that a true point at the very beginning where, you know, trying to be thankful throughout the year. I don't think about that until I get to Thanksgiving, and it's like, well, you know, the first, you know, 5 letters in the word is thank. And it's kind of like everybody's initial reaction is like, what can I say thank you to? What can I be thankful for? That's the main question, right? And I think, you know, not to be negative. We have a problem with the live?
Yeah, it's still taping. So I'm gonna stop it here real quick.
Yeah.
Those of you that are listening here, but I think we lost everyone.